It is Wednesday, my dudes. It is Wednesday, my dudes, and time for an old man yapping. So, I have been working on the music for my game for the past couple of days, and that's been fun, obviously. So one of the things that I've been doing, if you've been paying any attention at all, you know that I started from this half-remembered bit of music from an old NES game called Legacy of the Wizard. So that's what I'm starting from. That's the initial soundtrack that I was thinking of. But I went and I dug up. Somebody had a MIDI file of the original NES soundtrack. So I dug that up just to listen to it and see how close I was to the original. And I did okay, I guess. But this is how it started out. So that's the actual original theme from the NES cartridge, and what I've been doing is I've been kind of working off of that to kind of create my own original thing that's similar to it but not the same, and I am at this point up to 3 minutes of music, which I think is pretty cool, but I'm not going to subject you to the whole 3 minutes, like, right away. I will, of course, subject you to all 3 minutes later and make you listen to it. But the important thing to think about here is that the tune I've come up with is not the same as the original tune. I mean, it's fundamentally based on the same concept, but it's not the same. And it goes on in that same vein. And my thought process here is I want to do something that's similar, but I don't want to do exactly the same thing because obviously you got copyright and all of that sort of thing. But also, I want to do something that's new, something that people haven't heard before, that they don't go, oh, I've heard this. But I do want it to be the kind of thing that makes them go, I've heard similar things before. Like, I've heard music like this on old video games in the past. I think that's important because the primary idea that I'm going for on this is, for the first few minutes, well, for the first few seconds, I wanted to feel like a cheesy, crappy video game soundtrack like you would have heard on an old cartridge back in the 70s or the 80s. And then I want to kind of bring in some additional components and make it a quote-unquote better piece of music, at the very least more modern. And what I'm going to do that with is primarily the drum beat. I'm going to use samples for the drums, and I'm going to continue on in that vein for a while. And what I'm thinking along the lines of is that at like 3 to 5 minute intervals, I'm going to kind of alter the entire thing and make it a whole different kind of music. So this first 3 minutes is all kind of chiptune-y, video gamey stuff, and then we're going to kind of transition into something that, in my head, is very sort of FM synth. It's very kind of it's very sort of 80s Yamaha DX7 kind of stuff, with sort of a pop music feel and sort of a video game feel and sort of an orchestral vibe to it. And then I want to move from that into a more cinematic sort of arena where during that first 9 or 10 minutes, you kind of go from this is a chiptune video game thing, and then it gets more into kind of a pop synth sort of thing, and then it gets kind of cinematic and grandiose, and then at that point, I want to kind of migrate from the cinematic feel into more of an EDM kind of thing, and kind of go through, I don't know, like house, trance, jungle, maybe acid bass lines, that sort of thing, and then kind of lead into, I don't know, like a breakbeat thing, and just kind of get more into the 90s, and then go past that into the early 2000s with like the old EDM, and then get more industrial, and then go into like a dubstep thing. Because I like dubstep. I think Skrillex is awesome. And I think that goes really well with a video game where things are getting well out of hand in the last few minutes. It's like the enemies are spawning way too fast. You've got a mob all around you. They're everywhere. The system is bogging down with the number of bullets and enemies and experience orbs on the screen, and everything's just going haywire. And at this point, if the music is also going haywire, I think that's good. So that's kind of the direction that I want to go with that, is kind of lead through those first 10 minutes and just kind of be video gamey and poppy and synth stuff. And then just kind of go down into this sort of underground EDM stuff and get more, that old kind of feel. And we've got some of that in here already, but I've got really, this is 10% of the first level. So there's a lot of work left to do. It's just that I feel like the work is proceeding apace, and at this point, you've been given fair warning, and I'm going to subject you to the entire 3 minutes of this song. So here is the music as it stands now. See, I have been running into this with LMMS at sporadic moments, and what's happening is the system is just randomly producing these bursts of white noise. And I know what causes this. What causes it is that somewhere in the internals of the software, a DMA buffer has been allocated and not initialized because some jackass thought it was going to be initialized elsewhere. And this is really fucking annoying, but let's try this again. So that's kind of where things sort of transition. I'm not happy with some of the instrumentation on this. That heavy metallic bass that comes in right around this spot here, right around this area. If you listen to how that metallic bass comes in, I feel like that metallic bass is too harsh, and I'm not sure about the instrument here, which currently is a clarinet, which is like obviously wrong. You don't want a clarinet here, but I'm not sure exactly what kind of instrument sound I want here. So that's kind of jarring, and I'm not sure exactly what to do there. And this metallic bass, this aggressive bass here, I'm really not sure what I want to do with this. I don't feel like that's the right instrument for this part of the song. But then also we got this clarinet here, and I'm not sure that's right either. I feel like that's not the right thing to put in here. So those two instruments right toward the end, I'm not sure those are exactly the right sound and feel that I'm looking for. But this does kind of give you that. It does kind of give you the basic idea of what it is that I'm putting together, what it is that I'm trying to put together, and I'm fairly happy with it so far. If nothing else, the tune itself is it typically fits together rather well. There are some areas in the harmony that it's not perfect, that it just sounds a little bit off, and I feel like I need to fix it here and there, and just like tweak this note up a little and that note down a little, and do a couple little things like that. But mostly it fits and it works together, and it's catchy. It gets in your head, and you just like, it just runs there, and it's not terribly annoying when it's running in your head over and over. But there are areas like those two sections with the instrumentation and a couple of areas of the harmony where I'm like, well, that's not right. I feel like that ought to be fixed. And I need to go in there and fix those things. But those are details, and I'll get to them. It's just one of those things where everything takes a quantity of time, and that's something that you just have to work with. I've probably put like 10, 12 hours into this so far, but most of that is right at the beginning, kind of like trying to figure out what it is that I'm doing. It starts to fall like dominoes after you get to a certain point, but once I actually get into the meat of the next 3 minutes, there's going to be several hours that I've got to spin my wheels and grind on it until I come up with a melody and a bass line and a scale and progression and stuff like that work. I want to modulate out of Phrygian at some point, and I don't know, maybe I want to kind of like hit a whole bunch of different scales. But that's kind of where things are sitting right now, and I'm fairly happy with that. I'm fairly happy with the way that's fitting together and the way that it's coming together. And once I get another few minutes of music together, I'll put that into the game, and I'll see how the game plays with this music in the background and how that feels. And there's a bunch of other stuff that needs to be done. I've got like this little to-do list over here where I need to do unlocks and upgrades of the level up system and loot tables and achievements, and then enemy spawner and level scripting. And when I say level scripting, what I mean is as you're going through the level, what happens, which enemies spawn, where do they spawn, that sort of thing. The enemy spawner is just like the object that spawns the enemies, and you need that so that when the level is scripted, you have something to actually spawn the enemies that your script says to spawn. So all of that kind of fits together. They're related. And I got sprites to do still. I still got to do the chest, the pile of gold, the panties for experience. I need to do the arrow for the crossbow, so you have a projectile that actually looks like something you would shoot. And I still have to redo the enemy sprites and the player sprites and all of that. There's an immense quantity of stuff that needs to be done, but this is actually my second to-do list on the game. And the first to-do list had 10 things on it. And those 10 things are done. Adding weapons to inventory, something you can pick up, something you can shoot, something you can hit. Chest drops a pickup, the enemy spawning, the enemy AI, enemy health, the enemy drops experience. Experience is treated like health. All of that is done. That whole to-do list is finished. So now it's just, of course, once you finish the most important item on your priorities, well, now you've promoted item number 2 to number 1. So it's perpetual. There's all of this stuff that needs to be done and all of these things that need to be fixed. And yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done, a lot of things that need to fit together. And anyway, that's kind of where things are. Do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all that happy horse shit. And okay, bye.